Stars are whispering tales of old, planets spinning, stories bold. Life is dancing through the night, countless worlds in the starlight. Galaxies full of mystery, infinite in their history. Beyond our dreams and our sights, life blooms in the cosmic lights, dancing on the edge of space. Take me away, feeling the universal grace. In the dark our hearts ignite, life across the endless night. Nebulas with colors bright, birth new wonders in the light. Comets trail their sparkling tears, life endures through the years. In the silence of the void, every heartbeat is enjoyed. From the depths and to the heights, life expands through cosmic night. Dancing on the edge of space, and off we go, feeling the universal grace. In the dark our hearts ignite, life across the endless night. Dancing on the edge of space, and off we go, feeling the universal grace. In the dark our hearts ignite, life across the endless night.
So hello everybody, welcome to Sky to Livestream again. We are doing part 2 of our Milky Way sweep tonight. We're going to be checking out a lot of really cool things once again. We're heading farther north now. Last night you may remember that the telescope was having some weird behaviors. Well, I've done a test, quite extensive test, and I cannot recreate it, so I don't think it's going to do it again. Everything seems to be right. It seems to be working just fine. So I'm not going to quibble. Now let's first bring up our actual our image, okay? And I'm going to do that right now. You're going to see this go crazy for a second, and then we're going to bring up this guy. Yeah, there we are. Now I will be doing a couple of adjustments. Right now I'm gonna enlarge that screen a little bit. Don't know what happens sometimes with this particular thing, but it's okay. We just do that and we're good. Ta-da, just right there. All right. So now we are ready to cruise through the universe. What are we looking at here? Holy cripes. This is something else. This that we're looking at right here is a nebula in the Milky Way that I used to think was kind of boring. Yeah, I'd skip through it most of the time, wouldn't pay too much attention to it. And I just thought, I'll give it a shot with this wide field system. We are using the wide field system out in the Sonoran Desert. The Benson system is up and running, but it's cloudy there again tonight. As the monsoons clear out, that clarity will return, and we'll be able to do it again. But right now, it's pretty bad out there. In fact, the roof has been fixed. We had a problem where the roof was the chain was falling off, and the roof would open halfway and get stuck. Well, now it's working fine, so we're good. So, welcome everybody. I just want to say hello. Sally Forth was the first one here. Tiffany's next. Hi. Michael Hedrick will be back later. Carl Becker's with us. Kevin's with us from Vancouver. Kathy Messick is with us. Hi, Kathy. And then we have the LLABB hoops. I'd like to know what LLABB means. And then we have Carl Becker, C&D Boy, Donald Kunzer, and Good Vibes is with us. How you doing, Good Vibes? Good Vibes boss. Yeah, I'm glad you're checking in. Welcome. Stick around. JSCO 77 is with us. Good to see you. You're the early crowd. And C&D Boy, I forget, is your name Doug? I don't know why that sticks with me. But anyway, let me know. Anyway, so we're going to be looking at some really cool stuff tonight. And this guy right here that we're looking at, this is a most amazing nebula. And we're going to zoom in a little bit. This object is called the Omega Nebula. It's also known as the Checkmark Nebula. Check. And I think Daryl's probably still under the weather tonight. I didn't check in with him, but he was under the weather before, so I don't think that he'd be ready to go tonight. So I didn't actually ask him, but that's okay. And so let's check out this nebula. I want you to see something cool. If I we're not looking at the whole frame, but you know what? Why don't we do that? Let me drop this down, okay? And let's actually move the telescope out of the way and check out the entire frame. So let me show you the whole frame just so you can see what we're looking at right here. All right, so there's the whole frame right there, okay? And so we'll enlarge it to just do this, right? Now, one thing I'll do real quick is I am going to just do a little color correction here. And that's good because, well, you may not have noticed, but it brings out a lot more of the stuff. Now, I've got a giant set of screens here. I've got a large curved screen over here on this side, and I've got a large flat panel to the right. So you might see me looking here. I'm actually looking here where you're looking, okay? So it's okay. Just so you know, I don't want to feel weird to you. You know? All right, so this Omega Nebula, I started it a little earlier just so we could have it under our belt to look at once we came in. And that's pretty cool. But I want you to notice something really interesting about this. Okay, this right here is the brightest area right here. And then we have this dark cloud right there. You see that? That darkness? Okay, that extends to here, which goes all the way up in here. All right. Now, if I back away a little bit, that whole dark area is actually obscuring what's behind it. Okay. And so this dark cloud here is actually in front of this nebula. This nebula, see this large area right here? Just like when we looked at the North American Nebula last night, this giant area right here is actually, this is obscuring this nebula. Here it is, like a broad span of nebula, and it crosses over to here. But that right there, that dark area is actually just an obscuring dust lane between us and the nebula. So that's why we see this dark dust here. This is actually blocking what's behind it. You can actually see how this bar of brightness continues through here and kind of comes through here. See that? So that's behind all this here. So the universe is 3D, don't forget. So we're seeing it, aren't we? We're seeing it live and in person. By the way, I've got my nice Roswell Alien t-shirt on to do the stream. I thought, in observance of the fact that we absolutely love looking for alien life, and I just wanted to say that this nebula right here, we've got how many stacked here? We've got 35 stacked, and I've already set up our location, so it's going to a Checkmark Nebula, Swan Nebula, Lobster Nebula, Omega Nebula, M17, Measure 17 directory. So we're good. Okay, I also added a couple other filters to help us see more detail in the background. And so that's sort of being tested right now. All right, so let's, this again, now that I've saved it, it's up on our server. Let's redock this. And let's bring back our telescope. Slide that over. Bring back the telescopes so we can see it. All right, so now what I want to do is, this is, again, the Omega Nebula. That's how I've learned it. Measure 17, the 17th object in Charles Messier's famous list. Excuse me. And so we're going to move on to another object of equal interest and importance. All right, so let's do that. We'll save it. We have 36 saved here. Let's save it. 36 stacked, I should say. Now, for those that may not remember what a stack is, I'll just quickly describe it. We take one image, take a second image, align it with the first, star to star, and then lay it on top and just make an image sandwich on top and top and top. What that does is it brings out all the subtle details that we might otherwise miss in here, and allows dark nebula with subtle things like this little area right here. That little area right there is very subtle. Okay, there's a lot of subtle detail in here. All right, look at that. All right, and in that subtle detail, we would otherwise lose that. Okay, now the Benson scope, which I will share with you, the Benson scope is actually has a field that is about let's see, I guess like, let's see, maybe like this. I've got to see, about like that. All right, so that's what we see for the Benson scope. And so when we look at objects like this, we're looking at a narrow field with more pixels, so we get a lot more resolution. All right, now the stars are not quite round because we are suffering from a little bit of wind out there, but it's okay. We can wipe that away now. All right, so this shows us then what we can expect to see tonight. I mean, that's beautiful. There's more nebula down here. This entire region, which I'll show you exactly where we are. All right, this entire region is in the middle of the Milky Way, and we're right here. Okay, and we have the small Sagittarius star cloud. You know what? I figure why not? We should go check out the star cloud so you can actually see what a true star cloud of stars actually looks like. It's really something, and I'm gonna just pull this up. So the star cloud kind of looks like this, and we're gonna go right to this location here in just a minute because I want to catch this black area. But I'm gonna wait for the 40th shot to come in. We'll save it, and then we'll go. All right, there it is. Notice none of our frames except one have been rejected. So that's good. All right. Okay, so now we're there. I'm going to come out and let's get ready to go to our next object. Now, as I said, I managed to, put the telescope through testing last night. It kind of ran away on us and went to different places it shouldn't have. But tonight it's doing fine. So we're gonna bank on the fact that it won't do anything else to us. But let's go now to that star cloud. Okay, the telescope is not coming down. You can see it moving. It's subtle because it's very close. All right, let's go to that star cloud. Okay, the telescope is not coming down. You can see it moving. It's subtle because it's very close. All right, So now, this is the small Sagittarius star cloud. It's not quite in the center, it's above the center. And you'll see some amazing stars. Now, you see them now. All right. Now, as I move that just a tweak, we're going to watch the numbers come in. And when the numbers come in, we'll be able to start actually getting our data. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a 25-second shot here. That's all we need for the small Sagittarius star cloud. And the reason I'm taking this image is because I want you to look at this image and think, how many civilizations you think we're looking at right now? Any? I mean, intelligence is rare. It's not a foregone conclusion. However, it is something that is a fascinating topic nonetheless. So let's go and check it out. This is going to be interesting. Now, you'll see when I bring up the live stack here, this is the previous image, right? And if you think that's a lot of stars, I'm about to double that intensity, or maybe even more. Okay? So I can leave this up and it's going to go away on its own. Hey, Kurt. Kurt's with us. Kurt W75. How you doing? Nice to see you. Yeah. All right. So here we go. Let's see what we got. Okay, now, it doesn't look like much yet, but there's that black thing, and there's another one right here. But watch this. Watch when I back this out and pull that black level off. Whoa! Now we have a lot more stars, and I'll just color correct it just slightly. All right? And now you can see this beautiful cloud, and you already see this beautiful dark nebula here coming in. And what is it? Well, that dark nebula, we can actually grab that. Oops, that's the wrong one. Let's do this one. Okay, we're going to go for DSOs. We're going to look for Sharpless catalog and the Barnard catalog objects. And then Lynn's Dark Nebula. Okay? And while we're at it, we'll do the Bright Nebula. Okay, so now we come out of this and we can see that we are now looking at the Black Hole Nebula, which is a Sharpless object, which is right here. Okay? And we're also looking at this guy right here, which is known as Barnard 93 or LDN, Lynn's Dark Nebula 328. Okay? So that's this right here. All right. Now I'm going to just pick a spot. We're going to pick this one. And actually, I'll do this. And we'll center on our telescope. So now look at this beautiful cluster, this beautiful star cloud. This is an area now where we have incredible amounts of dust. All right, all this stuff here. Look at another dark, dusty object right up here. Okay, this is dark dust. This is all dark dust in here. You see a line of dark dust right there. There's more down here. The galaxy is full of dust. It's this dust that was born in these large red supergiant stars as they went through their last moments of existence. They shed their outer layers. They created a lot of dust in their outer atmospheres, their outer extents, because there was plenty of distance from the hot core of the star, and so molecules could actually exist out there. And so this is where this dark dust comes from, and it's mostly carbon and silicate materials, but in the dark it's cold. And I've said this so many times to you, life began in the dark. And when we look at the dark, right, we know that this dark dust is composed of these materials I just mentioned, but what happens is a lot of other elements and compounds and molecules, right, of material coalesce on the surface of these dust grains and form ices. We have carbon monoxide ice, we have methane ice, we have hydrocarbons, okay, we have water ice, okay, carbon dioxide ice, right? So we have a lot of ices on the surface, and if a star forms inside this dark cloud, like say right there, what happens next is that particular dust cloud starts to have heating going on, and the ices begin to sublimate, as opposed to melt. Because in the absence of air in an atmosphere, things go from a solid right to a gas. They don't go to a liquid state. So here we have this sublimation, this outgassing, basically, of all this icy, formerly icy material will go into the area around this newly forming star, and when a accretion disk forms, then that material is in the disk, and it's composed of, phosphorus, magnesium, calcium, iron, nickel, all the material that is used for planet building. And that's exactly what happens in the dark. So when the star finally winks on and begins hydrogen fusion, all right, and that happens when the temperature reaches like 15 million Celsius, okay, when it reaches that temperature and hydrogen fusion can begin, the star just goes, winks on, and now those planets may have already been forming, and so a lot of the residual dust is pushed away by the newly forming star, leaving a small gravitationally collected blobs which become planets. And that's why we don't have any huge amounts of dust in our stellar neighborhood, in our sun's neighborhood. Okay, so we've got 12 images here. This is beautiful, looking good. I'm gonna try and sharpen this up a little bit. I'm gonna actually do one thing. I'm gonna add what's called an unsharp mask. So watch the detail in here. Okay, look at that. I don't know if you can tell, but the detail just doubled inside this little area and this little area and in this little area up here. So we're getting some really nice detail. And this is, again, the small Sagittarius star cloud. You're seeing the soft red glow here of ionized hydrogen gas. Hydrogen is the most plentiful element in the entire universe. So it stands to reason we're going to see a red glow. That red glow is caused by the hydrogen electron being bounced out by hot stars. That's called ionization. And then it eventually rejoins its original atom or another. And when it does, it gives off energy, and that energy is in the form mostly of this red light. So that is called hydrogen alpha, hydrogen 2, which is the ionized atom. Hydrogen 1 is the normal atom where it has its electron. In fact, every atom has a Roman numeral 1, after it, when it's just at its base state, because that just means all the electrons are there. It's kind of confusing, I know, because then when you say like oxygen 2, O Roman numeral 2, what that means is that it's a singly ionized oxygen atom. Only one electron's left the atom. O3, on the other hand, that's a doubly ionized. So it's kind of like it's one behind in the nomenclature, because the Roman numeral 1 is reserved for the base state of the atom. So that's kind of cool. I know you weren't here for a chemistry lesson, but you know what? If you're interested in astronomy, you're probably interested in that stuff too. So we have a cluster right here. Let's go see if that cluster is visible. And it's named here. It's NGC 6603. That's this cluster right here. Okay, so this is our small Sagittarius star cloud. And where is that relative to the main star cloud? It's well north, because the main cloud is down here, and right there, that's called Bod's window. That's an area where there's less dust, and you can actually see farther through toward, but not at the center of the galaxy. All right. So we're doing a 25-second exposure, and we're already seeing some beautiful, subtle detail here. This is kind of cool. This is actually really nice. And what I'm going to do, I don't know if it recognizes. It may recognize this cluster. Let's see. It knows a small Sagittarius star cloud, so I guess I'll give that our target name. Excellent. Very good. All right, Measure 24. It knows that cluster, and it's known as the small Sagittarius star cloud. I'm going to save this annotated image. It doesn't know the dark nebulae in here, but I do. Don't worry. All right, and there we go. So it's been saved. All right, and we have 20 shots, which is what I was targeting. So I'm going to save that. And that's save there, and save exactly as seen. Boom, there we go. Now, if you want to get any of these images, they're free. Okay, you want this image? This is what you can go up to skytourlive.org and get. All right, it's this image right here. All right, that's the image you can download, and you can explore it, enjoy it. And if you don't know or remember what those things are in here, you can take the annotated image. I think that's this one. Let's see. Yeah. Then you get the annotated image. It tells you what you're looking at here. All right, so it's really, really cool stuff. All right. So now we'll come back here now, and so there's a small Sagittarius star cloud. Now that you can actually see with your eye when you go out at night. It's a small, you gotta be in a dark spot. But if you can see the Milky Way, you can see this cloud because it's pretty bright. All right, so let's now go back and find our next object that we want to look at here. All right, there's that cluster we just saw. You can see that, you can kind of sort of see the dark nebulae here that are blocking the stars behind it. Okay, let's now, from the small Sagittarius star cloud, let's move up. We did the Omega Nebula. What I'd like to do is take us now to the Eagle, because what's a night viewing without looking at the Eagle, which is where the pillars of creation are. So let's go look. Telescope should just go up, and we should see the Eagle Nebula has a cluster within it, and we should see it. There it is. And you saw the Hubble image of the pillars of creation, and the Benson telescope shows the pillars large. All right, but this telescope shows you the huge extent of all of the region, and that's what this telescope is really good at. So it's not meant to zoom in tight. That's what Benson's for. And we'll do that once we get Benson in clear skies again. John C. says, which one does E.T. live on? He owes me some money. That's funny, man. That's funny, John. Thanks. Good Vibes wants to know what telescope I need to buy to learn. That's a very good question. I'm going to start this exposure, and then we'll talk about that. Telescopes are a really important consideration, and we only need 25 seconds on this. We are guiding, so here we go. All right, so we're going to go into our live stack. We're going to go into our deep sky mode. Yeah, of course. All right, so a telescope, the first telescope has to be something you can handle, that doesn't break the bank, and that actually gives you the ability to see something. So right away, you probably want a telescope that has some built-in computeristic, computer capability. Look at that. There's the pillars of creation right there. Very, very pretty. And let's just take a look now. If we come over here, I'll just show you real quick. Okay, Benson telescope's field of view is about like that. Of course, it's not a circle, right? It's a square. So sorry for that, but it's about that big right there. Yeah. Okay. So when you're looking at a telescope to buy, you want a telescope that can take you to look at some things, and not just say, okay, here's your telescope, go point it somewhere. Let's let the telescope do the pointing for us, right? I'm doing it. Here I am. So what I'm going to say to you is the telescope that I recommend, and I've been saying this quite a lot actually, well, that's beautiful, is by the company called Celestron. This telescope is not a Celestron, it's actually a Meade telescope, but Meade is actually not making telescopes like this anymore, but Celestron is. And the Celestron telescope I would recommend to you is one called the Celestron 6SE. Under $1,000. This telescope is quite nice. Okay. And that's the telescope you should consider. All right. Oops, one moment. There we go. That's the telescope that would actually bring the night sky into view for you, because what will happen is when you set it up, it almost sets itself up. You only have a few things to do. Then you can go in and look at the actual telescope database and go see things. You might say, show me the Eagle Nebula, or show me the Pillars of Creation. And it'll turn around and take you to the Pillars of Creation, and boom, there it is. Now, it can't show it to you unless it's up. So it'll also say, not up, or it's not available, below the horizon. And that's the kind of thing that happens as well. So we have to be conscious of the fact that certain times of the year are when you can see certain things. And so that's one of the things you have to get used to with telescopes. All right. However, you'll be happy to know that if you actually look at different times of the year, you get to see a variety of different things, such as the Andromeda Galaxy, the Helix Nebula, the Eagle Nebula, which is what this one is. Okay. Very, very nice to see. The summertime is probably the best time for looking at Milky Way type objects and so forth. However, I will say that another good time is looking in the winter. Now, you might say, oh, it's cold. And that's true, it is. So if you want to learn how to control your telescope from in the house while it's set up outside, I can help you with that. It's actually practically free, and you can actually control your telescope from in the house using your Wi-Fi. All right, and that's something that's very valuable, you know. So that said, let's take a look now at the Eagle Nebula here as it builds up. Let's zoom in a little. Okay, so here we are. Now this is right here. You'll notice it's a little blurry. This is the field of view of Benson. However, in this region, we have literally twice to 3 times as many pixels. So it's not blurry. It's sharp as can be. And we see other details in here that are not visible in the wide field view. But again, we should use the telescope for what it's for. Kurt says, thank you for the recommendations. Always trust your opinion. Well, it comes from, thank you, Kurt. It comes from experience and knowing what people get frustrated with. You know, Sky Through Livestream was giving away a telescope at one point, but it needed you to do all the work. So I've encouraged our wonderful benefactors, who are Tiffany Echo and Mike, to give away binoculars with us, and maybe a deep sky or a dark sky, you know, a night vision system eventually. And those people would get a lot more out of, because all they have to do is point and look and they can see amazing things. Even a wider field than this, but with, you know, kind of similar detail. It kind of looks nice, you know. So you'll notice this cluster in here. I wanted to point out, and I might have said that, I know I've said this to you many times, and that is, when you look at this, okay, this cluster is hot young stars. It is causing this nebula to glow. It's ionizing all the hydrogen, and the hydrogen glows red when it's ionized. Okay. Well, you'll also notice that it has, away from it, radially in all directions, you see these little spikes of material. These guys are spikes. Let me zoom in a little more. Okay. Okay, here we go. Zoom out a little bit right here. Okay. So here's the hot cluster. You'll notice that the spikes are pointing right at it. Okay. We call these stalks, or, as you know, pillars. Okay. This one is pointing right at it. Okay. Same way. What's going on? It's a long, thin one, too. What's going on is the stars have very, very powerful stellar winds. Okay. Radiative winds that are just pushing dust and gas aside. But if it encounters a dense area, like at the where the tops of these pillars are, okay, up here and up here, okay, it can't blow that away, all right, and push it away with its radiation, all right. And so what it does is it blows everything away around it, but what's behind it is preserved by the actual density of this bulbous knot at the front. So this stuff stays intact. This stuff stays intact. This stuff stays intact. Okay, and that's what's going on. That's how stalks form in these clusters, and that's one thing you can always look for. You can always look for a stalk like this in a cluster that has some nebulous involvement like this one does. Okay. And so the pillars of creation are actually an offshoot of the powerful stellar winds from this young hot cluster. And that's what we're looking at here. Okay. That's really pretty. Looks really pretty, guys. Really, really pretty. Now I'm going to drop this a tiny bit to try and soften just a little bit. Oh, look at that. When you soften it, the colors come in. And what I'll do is I'll show you if we back out a little more right to there. And we take this and we push back a little bit. We're going to remove our black level back. It's going to seemingly get lighter, but you're also going to see more detail in the nebula that we haven't seen before. Then I can push this in. Okay. It's actually called a push process. And now we have stuff. Now we balance the black level to try and get just that right balance. So this right here should be the right balance. And it is. Look at that. So we have very, very subtle detail that's not lost. And it's beautiful. And this, again, is the pillars of creation. Okay, as we said, the Eagle Nebula measures 16. Okay. It's actually a fairly bright object. All right. So now, that said, when you look at it, you say, well, how far away is it? Okay, if I recall, it's like 5,000 light years. I'm gonna just this is 7,000, but I've heard between 5 and 8, so it doesn't matter. 7,000 is fair. Okay, 7,000 light years away. So you're actually looking at this as it was 7,000 years ago. That's right. And what I like to do is a game. I like to think, what was happening when the light we're seeing right now left that nebula? What was happening on Earth at that time? So you go back and look in the history book 7,000 years ago. Actually, this is a good job for AI. Tell me what happened. What was happening 7,000 years ago with humanity? And it will tell you all kinds of interesting things you never realized. And you'll say, wow, that's cool. Well, the light we're seeing tonight started leaving this nebula back when that was going on. That's the cool thing. Yep. Yeah. And JSCO says you can see the pillars, in here. Yeah, that's right. Even in the wide field. The wide field's good at seeing the overall structure, but the pillars show up well. If you want to see detail within the pillars, well, that's the Benson scope. Now, once we get out of the monsoon down there, it's done here, but down there it's taking a sweet old time. Then we'll have both telescopes open at the same time, and we'll cut over to the same object and show you the close-up view with detail versus the wide field view. I love doing that. No one's doing that. Actually, no one's doing this. No one's teaching astronomy this way, and it's all free. So keep going here, and okay, let's see. Tiffany Echo says, we haven't done a giveaway in a while, but we will again soon. Thank you, Tiffany. I'm looking forward to that. I think that's great. Hein Sherry's with us. Hi, Hein. How are you? Wow. Yeah. Yeah, people were walking around saying, this is a long time ago, says Donald. That's right. And good vibes. If you do get a Celestron 6 SE, that's a 6-inch diameter telescope, a modest size. That's pretty good. Let me know. I will help you with it. I'll help you if because it's a little nervous. If you want to know. Now, Kathy Messick, who's also in the chat, asked me for the advice, and I mentioned this telescope, but she wanted something a little more, so I suggested the Celestron 9.25 inch telescope for her. and I think she did get that one, and that is a really, really, really nice telescope as well. All right, so just let me know. Thanks, man. And Alicia Vieras is with us. That's Alicia. Her daughter's Darlene, you know. And Darlene is a real piece of work. That girl. Yep. I mean, she shows sheep. She probably rides horses, quads, and I imagine she owns her own shotgun. I don't know. However, I bet you she'll tell me that's all true. Anyway, good to see you, Alicia. Nice to see you. And you're a favorite person, Alicia. Of course you are. You know. So anyway, I think that's pretty cool. And Toner Lowe's with us. Hey, Toner, nice to see you. Sam S, good to see you. All right. So we've got 27 shots here, and I think that's good. So we're gonna say save this. This is the Pillars of Creation once again, and it's gonna be under the Eagle Nebula M16 right there. Oh, you can't see that. It'll be up on skytourlive.org, and you can scroll down and follow the directions for how to get at these amazing things. Felicia says, absolutely true on all counts. That means she has a shotgun, she has her own, she rides her quad. Of course she does. And she shows sheep. And they're very pretty sheep. I've seen the pictures, you've sent them to me. Really cool stuff. Okay, so there's 28. We'll save it. And let's save it exactly as seen. Okay, nice. And we'll get them out of this now. One more frame won't make that big a difference. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next object that might be fun to look at. Again, it's another object that's kind of near a star cloud, but it's in another star cloud that's a little farther north still. And it's really pretty because it's going to look like a certain type of cluster we've seen before, namely a globular cluster, but it's not. All right, we're going to keep going north now. All right, we're going to go to this cluster right here, and it's in the Scutum star cloud. And so when I come into this, I'm going to move the cluster to the upper left so you can see more detail of the star cloud to the right. All right, so let's go. There we go. Telescope is doing the right thing. And we'll see the Scutum star cloud come in with this cluster. There's the cluster. Okay. Scutum star cloud is out over here. So what I'm going to do is move this back. It's going to start doing that. And then I'm going to move it more by moving more to the west. Because it's trying to center that cluster. And I don't want to center it. I would like actually to move it a little bit more toward the west. So the telescope is turning toward the west, which is that way in the image. Okay. All right, so here we go. Now, when I take this picture, you know, just like the Sagittarius star cloud, you might say that's just a picture of a wet driveway. I'm going to tell you a little story. One of the people, one of the instructors, professors that I had when I was getting my astronomy degree was a fascinating guy named William Herbst. Great guy, okay? I think the world of this man. And I actually have to talk to him more. I have a few things I want to talk to him about. Well, anyway, Bill said, hey, I got a picture I took for you to see. And I was like, well, what kind of picture is it? And he said, well, it's a bunch of stars. And he showed me this picture. And I said, Bill, that's a wet driveway. That's not the Milky Way. And he goes, oh, you knew it. Then he said, I got a UFO picture to show you. And he showed me a UFO picture. And it was a beautiful sky. And then there was an object in the sky. And I said, wow, that's fascinating. I said, it looks to me like you took a picture of a small piece of debris on the hood of your car reflecting the sky. And he goes, yes, that's right. How'd you know? I said, because I look at this stuff for a living, Bill. It was very funny. Okay, now we're going to do another 25-second shot here. And this is going to show you this cluster called the Wild Duck Cluster. and it's going to show you the scutum star cloud right here. So we're going to go into our deep sky mode now to check that out. In the previous image, remember, we had the pillars of creation right here. And you can see subtle details still. And again, these will all be available, are available right now even, at skytourlive.org right there. All right, let's go check out this cluster. Bada bing, look at that. See, this is an extremely rich star cloud, and as you can see, it almost does look like a wet driveway. Right? You'd be forgiven for thinking that maybe it was. All right? So I'm going to do, though, what I have to do in order to actually help this image look even better, I have to turn off the detail enhancement, because it would actually make the stars look almost too sharp, you know? So that's pretty cool. Now, I could also add a Gaussian blur to this and kind of soften things, but that's no fun. So I'll just go back to correcting for the color errors, and you can see we got black dust lines in here and here. Right, this is incredible. Now we're literally in the midst of this star cloud, and so if I bring it over here, you can see this really thick star cloud. Now, question is, as I always say, how many potential civilizations do you think we're seeing? I would say we're probably seeing quite a few potential civilizations. You know? Yes, indeed. Okay, let's it'll label that here. Right there we go. Also known as the Wild Duck Cluster, Measure 11. It's also known as Amazdelicude de Sobieski. Don't ask me why, I don't know. But it's Measure 11. All right, and I'll probably use this one because that's the English version. And I'll set the target name for that. All right, target name set. Okay, so we'll save it with annotation so you can actually see the data. All right, there it is. Now we'll come out of there, and we are at 5 exposures, and we'll come into this now and look at it a little bit more detail. I've actually got this way down. I should have actually I could have probably dropped this number down to 1, and in this way I can show you more of the cluster by pulling this out, so you can see the stars in the cluster. Okay, the color is a little bit blue in the cluster, meaning the stars are somewhat young and hot. Okay. Alright, so now what I'll do is I will bring this in and bring it back to its full, unbelievable craziness. It almost looks out of focus, doesn't it? And that's just because there's so many stars. You know, if you zoom in, you can zoom in and see that the stars almost look like they're connecting to each other in like little networks. And that's not true. It's just there's so many that your brain is making patterns where there are really none. And most of the stars you're seeing here are red dwarfs. Stars that are much cooler than the sun, much smaller than the sun, slightly larger than Jupiter. And so they are lower temperature. And if they have planets around them, the planets, to be in the habitable zone around that star, have to be so close that they're tidally locked. Just like the moon is to the Earth. The same face of the moon faces us as it goes around the Earth through one cycle. And that's because that is tidal locking in action. And it has to do with the mutual gravities of the Earth versus the moon, and the mutual gravity of the small stars versus the planets that go around them are such that it'll keep the planets facing the star at all times as well. And that's just what that's all about. And Earth and the moon are tidally locked right now. The moon is tidally locked to the Earth. But the moon is responsible for slowing down the Earth's rotation over billions of years. And eventually, should the Earth and moon survive, and they won't because the sun will die and expand to a red giant and incinerate us in about 5 billion years. Don't pack now. Okay. But in that time, if the Earth and moon could survive, the moon is moving away from us by about this much a year. Okay, just a couple of centimeters, about 2 or 3. Hey, Mundus Finite's with us. Hey there. And as it moves about 2 to 3 centimeters per year, it will eventually get to the point where the Earth slows down enough that the Earth will be tidally locked to the moon as well. So the Earth's face will always face the moon, one face of the Earth. So the day on the Earth will end up being immensely long, and nighttime will be immensely long at that point. And so if you're on the night side of the Earth, you'll see the moon, potentially. Or it could be that the moon is somewhere else in its orbit. It could be always in the daytime sky, giving you a forever nighttime without the moon in the way. That'd be so nice. Oh, that'd be really nice. But who knows what the Earth will be like in a few billion years. And we'd have to survive the death of the sun, too, and that's probably not going to happen. So, that's kind of crazy. Yeah. Kevin O'Neill says, what a treat to be exploring 2 nights in a row. Oh, thanks. Sure. I'm finishing as part 2 of our Milky Way tour to close out the season. And the stuff coming up, we're going to be looking at some crazy cool objects coming up as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Especially in the fall, there's some really cool stuff. All right, so we've got 15 objects here, 15 of these. Now it's going to go to 16. And we're going to save this. We'll save it exactly as seen. There we go. And if you think I'm moving pretty fast, I am. Because I want to get more in here for you. So you can see the dark clouds of dust in here. These are our Barnard objects as well. And so we're done with this guy. And we're going to go back and look in our low light mode to capture some of the really cool objects as we move our way up to the next object. Now, this is going to be quite a jump, because we're gonna come up through here, and if I zoom out, you'll see what I'm talking about. We're going to be moving up here, and we're going to be moving through Aquila, the eagle. Okay. Now there is a small planetary nebula in here, but there it is. But it's called NGC 6790. It's too small to see with this telescope. Again, we use this telescope for what its purpose is. Okay. And this here is a nebula that is pretty cool. It's called a triple cave nebula. It's also Barnard's E nebula. And we're going to try and look for this one. This is the first time I've ever looked for this in this telescope. Let's see if we're going to be disappointed. Up we go. There it goes. We should see our crosshairs show up right here. Just a moment. I'm going to guess they're coming. There they are. All right. All right. So, now we come in here, and yeah, look at the stars, and look at this. There's a dark area right here. You see that? I wonder if that's it. Let's find out. And for this, I think we're going to do a 35-second exposure. And I'm going to set the sensitivity here to 250, which is probably better. Okay, so there we go. So now we're taking a 35-second exposure. I believe that we have a dark nebula right here. So we're going to go check and see in just a moment. So let's come out and go into our live stack and begin doing our stacking. Right, there's measure 11. I'm going to clear this. It's like using ginger to clear your palate before you go to your next course of sushi. And now let's see what the first image shows us. It may show us nothing, but let's see. Oh, look at that beautiful object. Look at that beautiful black dust cloud. That is really pretty. That's gonna really look great. Wow, I've never seen this before. This is fantastic. Let's see if it knows what's here. It doesn't. Okay, well it does, but it doesn't have this in its database. So let's color correct this to get this just right. Look at this. Now you see these lines coming down here. This is a beautiful splat of black, isn't it? It's a black splat of dust. It even has that brownish look like a dust in a cloud. You can see some lighter areas in it already. This is going to have some really nice, I'll call it texture when we're ready, when it's ready. Let's pull this in. This is the push. Let's see if we got any detail we can see yet. Yeah, we're starting to see how there's some lighter and darker areas within the cloud. That's really nice. So we'll pull that back for now, let it develop. The nice thing about this telescope and everything that we do with Sky Through Livestream is that we actually, you watch the images develop before your eyes. It's like film, but it's not film. The longer we expose, the more we get the stack right there. You see 3. Okay, the more we get through, like when that continues to increase, when we double the number of images, we have the amount of noise that we get. So when we had 2 images, we had a certain amount of noise. Now we get 4, we're going to have half as much noise as we had with 2. Okay, so you'll see. You may not notice the difference, okay, but it is actually there. It's subtle. So we really notice it when you compare, say, 2 frames with 22 frames or 20 frames. Then you say, wow, what a difference. 2 frames to 20 frames. It makes a huge difference. And if you want to see this color better, you look right at this, but then look right here. Okay, and your rods at the edge of your eye and your cones kind of work together. The rods work to show you the detail in here, but the cones give you the color. And you can actually see the color in here. Really fascinating. That's beautiful. I'm glad I looked at this because I didn't know. Now I want to go back at the right name for it. This is the E Nebula, Barnard's E Nebula. Okay, so we're gonna call this up here because it's not listed. We're gonna call it Barnard's E Nebula. All right. That's something. Oh, it's really pretty. Jeez. We're going to pull this up a little bit because I'm sure we can by now. Let's color correct a little too, see if we need to do any correction. Slight correction. Wow. Isn't that something? That looks pretty cool. Mundus Flint says, oh, neat, a full moon every night. Yeah. If we had one of those, if we had a tidally locked moon and a tidally locked Earth that were mutually tidally locked, look at that, then yeah, we would end up with a potential full moon every night or a full moon during the, or a partial moon during the day. We don't know where in the orbit it'll end up being tidally locked. So it could be anywhere. But wherever it is, it'll never set. And if it's in the daytime sky and you're seeing it, you're never going to see nighttime with the Earth being tidally locked as well. I mean, you're going to be well, you'll be tidally locked to the moon, so you would actually see a night. I'm not sure what the night cycle would be, but it'd be a lot longer. I mean, Mercury is somewhat tidally locked to the sun because it's so close. And Mercury also has an extremely long day. Venus does too, by the way. Venus doesn't have a 24-hour day. It's I think it's over 200 days per day at Venus as well. That's for a slightly different reason. Look at the difference in color of this thing. Wow. Look at that. That's amazing. Wow. Really good. It was a good thing I did this. I'm glad I did this. I want to say hi to my friends Ren and Dan down in Florida who are watching but not posting. And right now they're going, hey! That's right, I'm talking to you guys. It's nice to see you out there watching. They just sent me a message saying they're watching. Very happy to hear that. They hosted me to do a talk down at their gathering in Florida, and that was very nice. I got to ride around with Dan in his cool convertible sports car. And he wears the coolest hats. Which I have right here. I have your hat here, Dan. I still have it that you gave me. Right over there. So I'll wear it sometimes when I go out. Alright. Star Traveler 29. Going to the dark side, I see. You are part of the rebel alliance and a traitor. Take him away. Exactly. We're looking at the dark side. We're looking at Dark Nebula right now because we can. There's no moon, man. I love it. Tim F, what's up? So yeah, this is looking good. We have 11 frames, and I'm going to I'm gonna do this over here. I'm gonna overprocess it by kicking this. Right, and by overprocessing, we can see what's hidden. Look at that. Now you can see a really dark area in here, and it's lighter. There's a lot of texture in these nebulas. Okay, and we can actually see that here. All right, I'm gonna try a little something here. I'm gonna drag this way down. Okay, now work it back. Yeah, so you can see that as we move forward, we only have 12 exposures stacked here. And it's going to look really pretty when it's done. Okay, I'm going to get us back. Now this is an object that you really can't expect to see with an ordinary telescope with your eye at all. Okay, this is going to be something that's going to take a time exposure with an instrument like we're using. But I have to say, this is a wide field system. We're actually running at what's called a photographic speed of f1.8. Okay, now give you an idea. Your camera that you take pictures with runs at like f5.6 or f8 or so. You can get it to f2.8 maybe, but our telescope's running at f1.8. I modified it greatly. I actually have the camera on the front of the telescope, and we've modified our Schmidt-Cassegrain system using Starizona's Hyperstar technology, and it's really cool because it allows us to take photos of dim objects like this, all right, in seconds. This is a 35-second exposure, and we're capturing it. This is something you would take a 35-minute exposure to capture. And we're doing it in 35 seconds. Yep, really cool. C&D boy, thank you very much for putting up our link. If you guys want to know where all these stored, go to skytourlive.org, scroll down, and you'll get to a point that says take me to cool pictures, and you'll get the instructions for how to get all these really cool pictures just for you. All right, 16. I'm going to take this image here and save it, and now I'm saving it, and as I'm saving it, it's winging its way up to the cloud, going down to our server. at skytourlive.org, where you can go see this in about 30 seconds. Carl Becker, thank you for coming along. Best wishes to you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Yeah, no, it's like midnight now, right, in the East Coast. Yeah. Rascally says, 35-second exposure leaves plenty of time to make coffee. Yeah, if you're just pouring instant coffee into a thing, right? Yeah, very cool. Kathy Messick says, that's super fast when I was talking about the exposures. Yeah. Hey, Creeptasia, what's going on, man? Haven't seen you here for a while. I also want to let you know I've been talking to Keith from P&K Space Imaging. And Keith is threatening to come back and threatening to come on our stream. I told him he's more than welcome, of course. Wow, this is really nice. We'll go to 20 or so and then move on. I wasn't planning on stopping in Aquila, but Aquila, thank you for being so gracious and hosting us, because that's actually quite a nice thing. It's sort of in the region of Altair, which is right down there. Right? The brightest star, part of the summer triangle. If we back out, okay, the summer triangle is the 3 stars of summer triangle are Deneb, okay, right here, Vega, right here, and Altair. So these 3 stars make the summer triangle. So right now, out there, they're overhead at 9 o'clock Arizona time, which is midnight our time in the East Coast. All right. Oh, that's really pretty. Yeah. Okay, so let's center up again. Zoomy zoom. That's good. 20 shots. Let's save it. Right there. Okay. Again, that'll be up at skytourlive.org. Go up there, check it out. Server access is free. These downloads are free. We don't charge. If you want the fully processed ones, then you can join our Patreon, as it says right up here. You can join our Patreon. It's actually not that expensive. And we have an Etsy store if you want to see some of our cool images on mugs and mouse pads and sneakers. Yes, sneakers. And socks. Yes, socks. And beach towels and blankets. You can go to SkyTour Shop and check out what we've got. And again, all this goes to, back right into our passion for bringing free astronomy. I don't take a paycheck for what I do. Did you know that? Good vibes. How to be a Patreon member? Yeah. You can go to skytourlive.org right here. Good vibes. Okay. And you'll see a Patreon page, and you can go join our Patreon. So that's pretty cool. I'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. If you go to $10 a month and above, you get several highly processed finished images worthy of framing. But at any time, anybody can go buy framed information and framed data that we provide. We have a gallery, a fine art gallery, where you can buy the prints if you want. You can get them on canvas. You can get them under glass. You can get them on metal. Okay, metal prints are really awesome. Oh, thanks, Andy Boy. Yeah, that's our SkyTour shop. Yeah. I knew making you a moderator was a good idea. That's very nice of you. Thank you, man. Hi, Jessica S. How are you? Good to see you. All right, we're at 23. We'll go to 25, and then we'll be done. You'll notice the textures are showing up now. Let's bring this in a little more to kind of really pull that out. Look at that. Dark and light areas. Dark and light areas. This is really cool. This is neat. The E, by the way, is here. Here's the E. See it? That's the E nebula. Top of the E, bottom of the E, central part of the E. It's a leaky E, though, because it's leaking dark material off its backside here. But that's the E nebula. 25 images later. We'll save it. We're saving in two formats. We're saving in what's called FITS, which is an astronomical file format. And we're saving in PNG so that you can actually just go and see it and download it right away. The FITS file format is for folks that are expert in doing image processing. Let's do this. We'll just sharpen up this one more time. Here we go. We'll save one more time. Save one more time, and then we'll be done. Very nice. Okay. All right, folks, there's the E nebula. So now, riding further up in the Milky Way, we look further up over our head, and we now go up into another region that's starting to get almost overhead, and that is the area of Vulpecula. So we come in here, and when we come up into Vulpecula now, we're going to end up coming to an object that we love to take pictures of. We go through Sagitta, the arrow, and we end up moving to the Dumbbell Nebula, which is right here. I have a feeling our tour is going to go on for a part 3. Okay, and so now let's go and look at the Dumbbell Nebula. So the telescope is moving up now, almost looking straight up, and when it does, you'll see a little hourglass shape come into view. Here it is, and that is the Dumbbell Nebula. That is really pretty. Now we're going to now move the telescope to the west. Actually, I don't have to do that. I can actually just tell it to find things. It'll find the dumbbell. There it is. And I can say center it into view, and it will put it perfectly in the center for us, which is almost there. So just going to move it a little bit. There we go. All right. And there we are. Here we are. Okay. So centered in the view. You're darn right. Look at that. It's centered. All right. It's actually really good. Okay. Okay. So now what we'll do is we are already tracking. So I'm going to come up here and do a 20-second exposure. We don't need long exposure for this object. It's quite bright. All right. So we're going to drop out of warp here and go into our stacking and start collecting imagery. That's that beautiful E nebula that we just took. I'll clear it. I don't have to, but I wanted to. That's up on the server already. And here comes the Dumbbell Nebula. This is a gorgeous object, and 20 seconds is even too much. But what I'll do is I'm going to correct and move the object around. Now you see, here's the thing. We only have one frame stacked, and you'll notice that when we do this push, okay, it's actually grainy. But when we get a second one come in, the grain is cut in half from one. All right, so it's actually getting better and better. Now what I'll do is I'm going to move this down. All right, because when I move it down, we can get a better view inside the nebula. And right in here you see, it'll sharpen up in a second. right there you see the central star. That central star is blue. That's because it's a very, very hot white dwarf star. And white dwarfs are the end state for stars like the sun. You know, they eventually go from a very big supergiant, red giant star, and they shrink down. That's the gentle way to go for stars. The very, very powerful way to go is through a supernova explosion. I want to say hi to Marco, who just joined us. That's nice to see you, Marco. And I see someone said hi to Aurelio. Aurelio's here. Hey, there he is. Hi, Aurelio. And he's got all these little cryptic, images there, including an alien. Now, if you guys are anywhere near Connecticut, you're going to want to show up. Aurelio, put the dates up. The week in October coming up next month, there is a week-long UFO conference there, and they're going to have people remotely talking to people. They're also going to have people there. I'll be one of the people going on site to go there to do a talk. All right, it's the Danbury UFO Festival or UFO conference. What do you call it, Aurelio? I've been only doing it for like 5 years. It's your thing. By the way, I gotta tell you guys a really funny thing. Yeah. Okay, October 15th to the 25th. Okay, yeah. And every day he's got somebody else that's doing a speaking. Now, if you want to connect, you don't actually have to be there, correct, Aurelio? You can go online and watch. Is that correct? If I recall, that was something, so people can actually go online to watch these things too. And I wonder, are you going to televise my talk that I do? Let me know. Yeah, Western Connecticut UFO Conference. There you go. Very good. And then just let people know if they can connect remotely, so they could be anywhere in the world and watch this conference and watch the talks, correct? I hope I'm right about that. If not, you got to do that. Yes, online. Okay. Yep. Now I'm going to be there in person, so there will be people there in person on those days. But will my talk be online as well? I think that's what you're saying. Yes, online. Oh, no, mine is top secret. You're funny. I got to tell you a little story. Aurelio has a friend that I have known for decades. I haven't known him. I've never met him. But he's someone I knew about. Thank you, Michael. I'm about to tell you. And he sent me a post the other day. And he said, oh, I'm on with Mark D'Antonio. We're looking at SkyTour live stream with his really cool remote telescope. And the guy he was talking to said... well, he gave him a thumbs up saying, oh, that's really cool. Well, that person is none other than Eric Idle from Monty Python. So, Eric Idle likes SkyTour livestream, guys. I thought that's pretty cool. Yeah. In person is not recorded, Aurelio says. Well, I might stream it. The internet is actually, I think it's pretty good there, right? Anyway. Yeah, see, Kathy? See, look at that, really. You got someone already. Kathy Messick's going to go. She'll go remotely. Yeah. Eric Idle, we were talking about the Galaxy song, which I was one of my favorite songs that Eric Idle sings. If you remember in Life of Brian, there's this, the female, the Python characters dressed up as women. They're called Pepper Pots. Don't ask me why. I don't know. What happened is the Pepper Pot is doing something, and all of a sudden the refrigerator opens, and Eric Idle steps out in a pink suit and a cane, and he starts singing the Galaxy song and walks her through a portal into the galaxy where she's looking around like, whoa, look at this, looking at this beautiful, all these stuff out there. It's really funny. Really, really funny. So when you get a chance after the stream, look up Monty Python Galaxy Song or Eric Idle Galaxy Song, and you'll get to watch it. It's actually pretty accurate, and I thought it's hilarious. But I will eventually get to talk to Eric Idle because Aurelio is going to make it happen. Correct, Aurelio? That's where you say yes. Anyway, okay, we're at 18 images here for the Dumbbell Nebula. We'll save it here. Oh, Meaning of Life. Thank you. It wasn't Life of Brian. Sorry. Yeah, that's correct. Duh. Meaning of Life. Yep. More appropriate. Okay, let's drop this way down so you can see a little more detail. There you go. C&D. Off you go. Yeah, the C&D boy is always on top of it, man. He's on top of stuff. Thank you so much. Yeah, start another browser and listen to it and just put it up loud for the next 2 minutes or so. I don't think I can play it without getting a strike, so I won't. Anyway, this is beautiful. Let me see if I can pull out more detail now. I'm going to do an unsharp mask now. Let's watch. Yeah, you probably didn't notice it, but the detail is actually coming out in here. This is sharp in here. That's really pretty. Very, very nice. Okay. So we're going to save that again. We're saving it twice. Saving it once as one format and saving it a second time as a format you can just double click on. Featuring Eric Idle. Yep. Idle is spelled I-D-L-E. Awesome. Okay. So there's Dumbbell. Now, what is the Dumbbell? This star in here was a star kind of like the sun. And when it went into red giant stage, it reached a point in its evolution where it was doing these pulses, thermal pulses. And each time it did that, it pushed a little bit more of itself away from the core. The core of the star is what we're seeing in here effectively. But then that core collapsed. And that core keeps collapsing until it gets to the point where the electrons that are now freely roaming around along with the protons, the electrons are actually pushing back with a force that keeps that star from collapsing further. And that's what we call the white dwarf stage. And JSCO says, can you explain the visual effect of the X in the object? Yeah, I will. That's a good point. All right, so let me zoom in a little bit more. Take a few more pixels to look at that. Okay, now, first of all, that star in there, okay, little tiny bit out of focus because of the nature of our movement here. But I will say this, when you look, when the star does those pulses, a little more of itself goes out and out and out, and it goes out like concentric shells. If we over process, you'll see outer shells too out here. Okay, see them out here when we over process. So these came off first and went out slowly, and then the rest started coming off later. Now, what do the colors mean? Well, first of all, the colors are significant. The colors, this teal blue, this is the spectral signature of doubly ionized oxygen. Now that's that O3 thing I was telling you about. Okay, O3, right? And that's what it is. So singly ionized is O2, all right? Because O1 is the base state where oxygen has all its electrons. And then O2 is a singly ionized oxygen, and O3 is doubly ionized, where 2 electrons have left the atom. Okay, and when they rejoin the atom, they make a characteristic a release of light that's in this spectral range. It's sort of a teal blue. This is hydrogen. Okay, you know what hydrogen's ionization causes, and so this white dwarf being so hot is ionizing the gas that it's previously expelled. from the star. All right, the white dwarf being so small and so hot, much hotter than the original surface of the star, it's ionizing all this stuff here, and so that ionization is taking place very easily because the white dwarf's temperature is anywhere between 20 and 30,000 degrees. Well, 20 or 30,000 Kelvin, which is slightly more than 20 or 30,000 Celsius. Okay. That said, when we look at that white dwarf, it's markedly blue, and you can see that it's blue. That's because the hottest things in the universe are blue. O-type stars are the hottest stars in the universe. They're blue. They, in fact, give off most of their light in the ultraviolet. The white dwarf, similarly, gives off a lot of its energy in the ultraviolet. So the ultraviolet is what excites these electrons to bounce off the atom and ionize like this. So that's what we're seeing here. So when you look at something like this, that's a white dwarf in there, the end state of a star like the sun. You go into more massive star, and the end state's something very different. The star's core can collapse further because there's more mass, and it can go past what's called electron degeneracy pressure, where those electrons are all pushing back. It's like having a checkerboard where every square had one electron in it. You can't put more than one in a square. That's kind of what it's like with these white dwarf stars. All right, they're held up by the electrons not being able to be squished closer together than they are, because it's a very, very compact star. This star is the size of the Earth. Okay, now when you look at the size of the sun compared to the Earth's a tiny dot next to the sun. But the white dwarf is so compressed, it's the size of the Earth next to such a giant star. That said, neutron stars are even smaller because they're more massive. They shrink even smaller. And then what holds them up, all right, is neutron degeneracy. Okay, and that's something that occurs because neutrons are made rampantly in these stars. And the neutrons can't be packed into more than one per checkerboard square. So you can't crush it beyond that. And the neutron star is that much smaller than the white dwarf. It's actually the size of Manhattan Island. It's only like 20 miles in diameter compared to 8,000 miles in diameter for the white dwarf. So, and we see neutron stars from thousands of light years away, and they're only 20 miles in diameter. How is that even possible? It's because they're so intense and their temperatures are that much higher that they actually light up entire supernovae remnants that have moved light years away, many, many light years away. So anyway, that's sort of a rough idea of the difference between the white dwarf in the middle of guys like this, planetary nebula they're called, and the neutron star in the middle of objects like a supernova remnant. So let's do the last exposure here, and we'll go to 40, and now we'll take it and save it, and save exactly as seen. All right, I know you've had enough of this guy, so we're gonna move on, and we'll go do another object which we have time for. And that will be, here's our dumbbell, and we'll back out a little bit. All right, and now we're gonna do one object here. Since I was talking about supernovae, we're gonna go up even closer to the zenith and check out this object here. There it is. That's a star called 52 Cygni. That's actually in the foreground, but this is the object we're looking at right here. Okay, and I'm gonna move us to the west. In other words, move the telescope to the right and bring that into view. We're now at a supernova remnant, and a supernova, when a star explodes, it has to be much more massive than our sun. And when it explodes, it can leave behind a neutron star or a pulsar, which is a neutron star that's spinning rapidly with lighthouse hotspots that flash us as it goes by. Ship, 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 ship. We see that all the time. The Crab Nebula has one such pulsar in it. Or it can be a black hole. So it could be a completely invisible object. Okay. But let's do this. Let's move this here. I'm going to go slightly... Sorry, I went the wrong way. I want to go more to the west a little bit. Okay. Now, back in the Dumbbell Nebula, JSCO said he saw the X shape. That's probably because of the way that the star was spinning kind of like a top, and it was probably precessing around its axis, sending stuff out on a radial, and we're seeing it now at this point in its precession motion. I'd have to draw a picture. All right, this right here, this faint object right here, this is part of the Veil supernova remnant. Now, way out here on the other side, far, far away, is the other half of it. If we have time, we'll grab that too, but I'd like to show you this real fast. This is going to be a 25-second shot, no more required. Spad no expense. Jurassic Park, remember? All right, so now we're going to go into our deep sky mode here. There's our dumbbell. That's a star like the sun. You'll notice a dumbbell is sort of a compact remnant, but the supernova remnant is blasted out to space, and we get this type of remnant here that you're going to see. Look at that. Okay, this is the right hand side of it. There's a left hand side, like I said, way out there, and the central one. You can see some of the central stuff here and here. See that? Okay, we're seeing a little bit of it here. All right, and so I will color correct it, which I don't really need too much, and then I will bring this in, because we can do that now, halfway in, and you'll see now you can see other parts of the remnant here. This fibrous tendrils that you see right here, okay, and it goes up to here and more here. This is amazing. This is a remnant. Again, this star is way up here in the foreground. It's not part of this region. All right, but this, again, you'll notice those colors again: teal, blue, and red. Again, why are we always seeing oxygen, ionized oxygen, and why are we always seeing ionized hydrogen? Well, the reason is because the oxygen is the element in the universe that's the third most abundant. You have hydrogen number 1, helium's number 2. All right, because hydrogen is made into helium via the stellar fusion. The very basic star turning on causes that. And the third most common element, believe it or not, is oxygen after helium. And the fourth is carbon, which is what you're all made of. So it stands to reason that we are all, we all have a love affair with carbon. So let me just show you the full frame here. This is the full frame of this right here. Okay. This here is called Pickering's Triangle. It's a feature within this particular interstellar remnant. I'm going to darken up the background a little to kind of bring out the background colors. All right, now you can see even more. That is just gorgeous. I remember the first time I saw it was out here in my front yard in the dome when I was doing Sky Tour live stream, in the 2016. And when I saw it, I was astonished. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Oh, yeah. So we'll take a few of these and then we'll go to the other side. All right. And we can do the central veil too. The central veil is really, again, this telescope excels at showing wide field stuff. What's wide field? The distance from this side to this side is it's 3 full moons across and 2 full moons tall. Okay, so 1.5 degrees by 1 degree in size, and that's also reflected in our our field of view, which is this indicator here. Okay, now it is upside. Oh, it's not upside down. Good. It's let's see how what that says here. Yeah, 1.5 by 1. Yeah, so 3 full moons by 2 full moons tall. So here is the entire remnant. Okay, now we've done a mosaic of this with this telescope, much higher resolution than this, and somewhere in the middle here is the progenitor star, the star that caused it. It's not a neutron star that's visible. It's an actual it's probably a black hole. I'd have to look up where this star is, but we're gonna look at this here tonight in a little bit. Here's Pickering's triangle that I just showed you. That's actually right here. Okay, you can see right here. It's right there. And this object is just it's so gossamer and delicate, it actually belies the absolute incredible devastation that created it. An exploding star, the biggest cosmic cataclysm that you can have. And the colors you see are real. Those are the actual colors. This halo is due to the brightness of the star and the optical system we're using. Bright stars always produce halos for us. Okay. All right, so now let's see if it will know this. I know it will. It'll know 52 Cygni, and then it says the Veil Nebula. Okay, so there is the Western Veil. That's the veil that is toward the western horizon. Okay, and we've named that, and so now what we can do is we can save it. We have so much more to see, but we'll do that on part 3. Very cool. All right, so now, yeah, in the ping file that you'll get, I'll show you. This is the file that you can download for free right here. There it is. All right. Yep. And that's at skytourlive.org. I do want to take a moment to thank all of you for supporting us, because without your help, both in attendance and financial, we just couldn't do this. You know, as I mentioned to you, I don't take any money for this. Marianne doesn't take any money for this. In fact, it costs us money to do this. But your help keeps us going. And I'm in discussions with another location, and the next telescope may very well be in the darkest location in the entire United States. So we're crossing our fingers, even though as a science guy I know that doesn't do anything. Maybe it does. So we'll see what happens. Isn't this beautiful? Look at this gossamer detail in here. Ah, it's just something else. Really, really pretty. Really gorgeous. Wow. Now, as I was saying, the Benson scope, it's a square field of view, and it's about like this. So we see and hear, it might be a little bigger. It might be more like this, actually. That's more like it. So that's about the size of our field of view in Benson. All right. Hey, Mr. Django. How you doing, Steven? Good to see you. Marianne, thank you for joining us tonight, by the way. It's been wonderful. Tell you a little thing that happened out in Benson. One of the things that happened was when our roof went haywire, we had one of those pan and tilt security cameras outside the building. And I had it, about that far away from the building's roof, so it was far enough away. However, when the roof went haywire, it went like a foot over too far than it should have, and it sheared the camera right off, and it was down in the dirt. Luckily, Frank, the technician out there who fixed the roof, picked it up and put it on our table in the observatory. I don't know if it still works, but I got another one with another bracket sent out to Glenn, who helps us at the Benson Observatory. And Glenn is going to install it later this week. And he's a big help. And it's a bigger bracket, by the way. And the way it's bent, it cannot shear the camera off again. Anyway. You wouldn't expect this to happen, but it did. Anyway, good. So this is the right-hand side. We got 20 exposures. Pickering's triangles, just beautiful. I saved it, as I said. I'm gonna do the 21. I'll do this last thing here. Save exactly as seen. Okay. Isn't that beautiful? Now let's go see the other side. And the other side is beautiful, and we're going to show you that in just 1 second here. There it is, very faint. Okay, now let's come in here. Let's go over to the Eastern Veil Nebula. There we are. Telescope will move just a little bit. There it goes. And you'll see the Eastern Veil just as faint right there. And we're going to move to the west. I could just tell it to center it, but I'm going to move it so that there's certain details we can see. Okay. A little more. And then we're going to move south a little bit. I want you to see the bottom down here. That's really impressive. Impressive. Most impressive. But you are not a Jedi yet. Okay. A little more. Just a little more. Okay, that should do it. That should get us right where we have to be. Okay. And again, we don't need a lot of time on this. We're going to do 20 seconds. And you're going to see the other side of that interstellar cataclysmic explosion. And that's this right here. So 20 seconds later, we shall see it. So we'll come in here. All right. Okay, that's the one we just saw. That's the Eastern Veil. And that goes down below the extent here. It comes down to about here, so I couldn't show all of it. I wanted you to see the top. All right, but now you're going to see the Western Veil. So here's the other side. Look at that. Okay, and we do see the bottom, which I wanted. This trails off just to about here. Look at that. That is beautiful. I'm going to back this off just off the bump, just to the side there. Show subtle detail in here. Look at that thing. Isn't that gorgeous? Wow. I'm going to pull this down to there. And pull it back a little bit more. Pull it back in. Very nice. Marianne, are Randy and Diane watching? Or are they sleeping? Marianne is up in Pine Top tonight. Wow. This is gorgeous. This is the first one I saw, and in the telescope that's actually behind me. You can't see it. And it's just incredible. Yeah, people see faces in here. I see Alfred Hitchcock when I look at this, but you also see the Joker's face right here. The Joker is smiling like Cesar Romero in the original Batman. Dynamic Dunderheads. Funky. Yeah. So Marianne's watching on her phone, I guess. Cool. All right. Well, we'll let that develop a minute. I'll be right back. See, told you. Okay. So what I'm going to show you now, or even do is, I have this glass jar right here. And you might say, well, what are you doing with the glass jar? What's the point of this glass jar? And the answer is actually quite simple. This is the Vader bottle. Now that's backwards, okay? But it has a perfect resonance so that you can imitate Darth Vader, okay? So I can say, you are part of a rebel alliance and a traitor. Or I could say, you are part of a rebel alliance and a traitor. Take her away. And now you see the magic of the Vader bottle that I haven't gotten rid of for 25 years. I've had this bottle, and I'm not giving it up. This was actually a large-size Planters peanut jar. Was it really? Yes, it was, Darth. It was. So, pretty cool, huh? When I was in college, in order to make my way through college, I helped out my friend Doug, who had a radio show. And I'd have all these little things around me, and I would imitate many different characters. And they'd be carrying on conversations, and people wouldn't know that it was me doing all of them. They thought it was several different people, you know. So like Popeye would say, "Oh, what you doing there, Dorothy?" And he'd say, "What are you doing here, Popeye?" You know, and then of course Popeye would say something like, "Oh, I just get no," you know, or whatever. Well, anyway, you know, I'd be switching back and forth between Darth Vader, "You're part of our alliance, I will take you out of here," you know, and then Popeye would say, "Oh, give it your best shot, whoa," you know, that kind of thing. And it would just go on. And I did that for like an hour every Friday. My friend Doug would go to dinner, and I would just talk to myself for an hour. And that was kind of cool, you know. I have a recording of it. Actually, somebody did make a recording, and I have that recording here. It's embarrassing. But anyway, when I went over to the science library, I heard people, I heard my voice, and I was like, what's going on? And I went into the middle of the study cubicles, where the large tables, and people are laughing. I'm going, what are they laughing at? Well, somebody had recorded my last 1 hour session talking to myself, and in that one, that's the one I think I have a recording of. Darth Vader is chasing Popeye to the space shuttle, where the space shuttle is now trying to get back to Earth, but Darth Vader is trying to destroy it, and Popeye is trying to defend it. And Olive Oyl is panicking, and Brutus comes in to try and kill Popeye, but then Popeye is trying to beat down Brutus and beat down Darth Vader and rescue everybody in the shuttle and get him back to Earth. Yeah. That's such goes through the mind of crazy people like me. You gotta understand, I had heavy-duty physics, I had heavy-duty calculus, I had heavy-duty astronomy going on. I needed a break. And I'll tell you the last thing, we're up to 16 images here, so we have some more to go. The stress gets to you when you're really pushing hard like this, when you're in a degree program. So one of the things I did was I decided, I had just done an astronomy final exam, and I felt like the weight of the world was coming down on me. I was scared. Wasn't sure I passed. I knew I might have, because I really was being careful. But then I said, I got to do something. And my friend Doug said, well, I got to go take my psychology final exam. And I said, you know what, Doug? I'm going to come take it with you. And he's like, what? I go, yeah, but you're not in the class. I know. I'm not in the class, but I'm going to take that test anyway. And I'm going to screw it up and totally destroy it because I just need the release. I got to do something. So I went in, 200 people in the class. All right. And he handed out the exam books. I got my exam book. And then he handed out the test. And it had questions like, compare and contrast Carl Jung with so-and-so and blah, 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 blah. And I would answer the questions any way I wanted to. So there was one where it said something like, talk about the existential crisis and how it pertains to you. And my answer was, actually, no. I'd rather talk about why pigs like mud. And I made the entire theme of the test pigs. Pigs. Piggies. And so in this test, I began to talk about the social hierarchy within the pigs, and how there was a pecking order, and how only the strongest pig would survive and get the most food. And I mean, I literally did that for every single question. It was always about pigs. And so there was one that said it was like 4 quadrants, and I had to describe the 4 different something, or the ego, id, and something else. And I said, you know what? I don't care about any of that. But I wrote, actually, I said, this is a time for art class. And I ended up making one picture that was a bust of Sigmund Freud. I drew a bust of Sigmund Freud, like a statue. Okay. And I drew a bunch of characters with their eyeballs looking out at everybody from one quadrant. And then another one I had Snoopy and his doghouse. And another one I had this little janitorial cartoon character that I made called Fred. And then this is looking really pretty now. Look at the details showing up. Okay. And so that became the theme. And so the next question and the question after that, there were like 30 questions, and I did this whole thing on pigs every single time. All right. And so at the end of the test, I felt like, man, I had such a fun time doing this. It was great. I just loved it. So I ended up submitting the test for a grade. Why not? Why not? So my friend Doug said to me, I went in with a false name too. I went in with the name Paul Prajalta. That was a name. Now, Paul Prajalta was actually the name of a student that was supposed to go to the university who never went. So I assumed his identity for the test. I became Paul Prajalta. Well, Doug got the test back. And when he got the test back, I was in the back of the room because I had to see, I figured he'd ignore it, whatever, because it was ridiculous. And sure enough, he said, all your exam books are here. And so everybody got their tests, and there wasn't any tests left in the box. And I was like, well, I guess he just threw it away. But then he said, is Paul Prajalta here? I was like, oh no. Paul Prajalta, are you here? I almost raised my hand, and I didn't. And he said, oh, it's really too bad. And then he launched into 20 minutes of why Paul Prajalta got an A+ on the final exam. And I got an A+. I was like, I didn't even take the class. He said, Paul Prajalta bridged the gap and transcended the meaning of the words on the page, and he proceeded to knit together a thematically cohesive, I forget how he said it, a thematically cohesive treatise on the philosophy of the pecking order of pigs on a farm. And I was thinking Animal Farm. I was thinking all kinds of things. I was thinking even Charlotte's Web. I was thinking of the meaning. And he really opened my eyes. And Doug is down there laughing his ass off, so to speak. Sorry to say that. Laughing so hard about Paul Prajalta being me, who never took a psychology exam ever, getting an A+. And what ended up happening was the professor's name was Connolly. That was his last name. For many years after that, he had Paul Prajalta's test that he could never give back to Paul Prajalta, who never came back after the final. He couldn't give it back to him. He put it under glass in his office on the wall. Opened up to his favorite page on the test, which was the quadrant with all the little pictures in it. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. And I could never own up to it. And I don't think I ever will, because I don't want to spoil the dream for Professor Connolly that Paul Prajalta was just goofing on his class. So, of course, if he listens to this, he's probably going, "No way!" Yes, my name is Paul Prajalta, and I live at 1313 Mockingbird Lane. So anyway, that's kind of funny. I just thought you guys would get a kick out of that, and it's sort of long-winded. I apologize. This is the last object, so I figured that I would tell that story before the end of the stream. So we'll save this exactly as seen. Sally says, "You sure are a character, Mark." Yeah, that's a word for it. Character. Yep. I like JSCO's comment. Pecking pigs, like pecking order. I like that. Well, guys, you've wasted a couple hours here with me tonight. I'm so grateful. Support us any way you can. You join our Patreon. Go to skytourlive.org if you are up to it. There's a donate now. You can donate to us. Again, none of us inside of SkyTour take a dime for any of what we do. We're doing this all because of passion. If you don't want to do that, you're more than welcome. Just keep coming back and enjoying what we do, because we love doing it for you, as you can tell. So I would be happy and honored to see you all again on the next stream. And this object right here with 36 images, again, will be right up here at skytourlive.org. All right, I'm saving it again in its two formats. And so there you go. And this right here is the image you're going to get when you go up there. Okay, there it is. Beautiful. And you can open it and you can zoom in on different segments if you want. Check it out. Okay. I probably should have done a focus run one more time, but that's okay. All right, mirror flop wasn't that bad tonight. Anyway, so good to see you guys again. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you on the flip-flop, right? Isn't that what we say? Anyway, I will see you the next time we get together for SkyTour live stream. Thank you for joining us on part 2 of our Galaxy Tour, our Milky Way Galaxy Tour. And we'll see you the next clear night for part 3. Thank you all, and we'll see you later. Goodbye.
Stars so bright in the sky, on Arizona nights they fly. Nebulae in colors rare, galaxies beyond compare. Sky tour in the night so clear, brings the universe near. Real-time wonders to see, streaming light for you and me. Lift your eyes to the skies, universe in all its light. Sky tours bringing the views. Every night feels brand new. In the dark, the night unfolds, stories of the cosmos told. Through the lens, a distant dream, living real like a gleam. Far away, up so high, across the stars beyond the skull. Through the lens, a distant dream, living real, like a gleam. Lift your eye, up so high, across the stars beyond the sky. Sky tour shows us the way, every night a new display. Lift your eyes to the skies, universe in all its light. Sky tours bringing the views, every night feels brand new. Lift your eyes to the skies, universe in all its light. Sky tours bringing the view,